They want to kill us. If they catch us, they're gonna kill us.
Watching on in horror as outside their window an angry crowd tried to turn over a police van. This is the moment Hamid and Abdullah, not their real names, thought they were going to die when the place they call home was attacked by an angry crowd who tried to set it on fire.
There is no humanity, if you understand what I mean. It's like, you know, zombie. They burn.
Okay, things are going worse and worse and worse every day in the United Kingdom. That's England. Riots all over the country, everywhere. People are demonstrating, and the issue is we are protecting our land, we are protecting our culture, we are protecting our children from illegal immigrants. We are paying tax, and that tax is not benefiting us, the people of England. That tax is only benefiting the immigrants, moreover the illegal ones. We have no problem with the legal immigrants, but the illegal ones, they are killing us. Let's watch this video and see, because over 400 people have been arrested by police just for...
They want to kill, they make like that.
They make gestures.
Yeah, just like that, always. And we're gonna catch you. They make, we don't catch you. If we don't catch you today, we're gonna catch you tomorrow. If we don't catch you tomorrow, we're gonna catch you after 1 weekend. They was thinking we're gonna die. I swear, I don't lie.
They're both here seeking asylum and showed me footage that they filmed when their hotel in Rotherham was attacked by right-wing rioters who then turned on the police. They've been moved to a new hotel. We won't reveal where it is or their identity for their own safety. Now you've been moved to a different hotel. What are you hoping for now?
We need to, they leave us alone. That's it. We need to live like everybody in this world.
Ladies and gents, if you find anything you don't think you should be picking up, give us a shout.
Today, a community clean-up. Volunteers coming together to say this is the image of the real Rotherham. 240 people seeking asylum had been housed here. They've all been moved on now. How have some of the most vulnerable come to be the target of this violent unrest? And, crucially, what can be done to stop it? After an emergency COBRA meeting, the Prime Minister announced a standing army of specialist officers to tackle the unrest, although he didn't clarify exactly what this means.
Whatever the apparent motivation, this is not protest, it is pure violence, and we will not tolerate attacks on mosques or our Muslim communities. So the full force of the law will be visited on all those who are identified as having taken part in these activities.
In Tamworth, petrol bombs were thrown and the police attacked by people chanting racist slogans. One officer suffered a broken arm. The crowd then set fire to this hotel, as inside asylum seekers and the staff feared for their lives. The hotel had previously been identified by the local MP.
Imagine banning a hotel where asylum seekers are living. Where are we going? Where all this is going? People have lost their humanity. They behave as if they are not human. Remember, I told you, whoever comes in England, he doesn't come because he loves so much. But where he is coming from, it is fire. There is no freedom. There is no opportunities. That's why they are fleeing to come in your country, England. Now, instead of we sitting together and find a solution, to discuss and see really what's the real issue, why people are coming to our country, why people are coming to England as asylum seekers, where the real issue is, and we address that. Please, we are all human. Please, we are all human.
Who said in a Commons debate, people want their hotel back. Today, Sarah Edwards said in a letter she condemned the violence. They're just fixing up the windows and assessing the damage here. Many have been left wondering not if there will be another attack, but where. After a weekend in which violent disorder has swept across the country, there are many wider questions about racism and Islamophobia, about the power of social media, but also the responsibility of politicians, some of whom have been accused of using inflammatory language, which is then co-opted by extremists.
So these cameras provide reassurance for the sort of the congregation, and they're sort of at the front and back end of the entrance.
So these security cameras. At her mosque in Birmingham, Hamda Mohammed shows me the security measures they have in place. Rumours have been circulating on social media channels that far-right groups are heading to this city.
It's very much rumours at the moment, but it feels like a very, very real to us as a community here, because we have to sort of really make ourselves less powerful.
But all this came in as a result of misinformation because of the guy, the 17-year-old boy, who killed 3 children using a knife. And people started circulating rumors that this boy is a Muslim and he was asylum seeker. That's all, everything started. When they are paying vigil, or when we are sending off these 3 children that were killed, then the vigilante or the people started attacking a nearby mosque. They destroyed everything, saying, you came to our country to destroy it. You came to our country to kill our children. Yet that was a misinformation. The killer was not a Muslim, and the killer was a citizen of England. This boy was really born in England, and the parents were from Rwanda. Then that came after, when everything was destroyed. And now there are 2 groups. We are fighting Muslims. We are fighting mosques. We are destroying all the mosques. And the other group is saying, no, those are our brothers, those are our people. Let's not fight Muslims. Let's not fight Islam. Let's not be racist. Let's not fight immigrants. They're all our people. We should find a common stand for all of us that benefits everybody. Some say these asylum seekers are eating their money free of charge. And the people in England are suffering. The people of England are suffering, yet asylum seekers are benefiting. That there are people who are even homeless in England. They don't have where to stay, don't have where to sleep. But the immigrants are being looked after well. 5-star hotels, they are staying there, given everything. But the people who were born in England, they are homeless. That's where the issue is. Let's watch the video.
Hamda says many Black and Asian communities have been left fearful, but also angry at those who question their right to call themselves British. She feels there needs to be a wider debate about the causes of the violence.
To be sort of told you are not British and you do not belong here is sort of like, then where do I belong? I clearly can't go somewhere else, and I clearly don't belong here.
And that must make you feel horrible when your identity is being questioned as a British person.
I think the wider issue is that scapegoating of Muslims, of migrants, of people of colour that we've seen decades and time again in the news, where migrants are referred to as illegal immigrants, or far-right thugs are sort of classed as just protesters, rather than what they really are, which is racist, Islamophobic riots.
6 days since the unrest began, there have been nearly 400 arrests across England. The suspects have started to appear in court. The Prime Minister insists they will feel the full force of the law for their actions, but addressing the reasons behind their actions and stopping it spreading will be much harder.
Well, right now, Darshna is in Alum Rock in Birmingham, where there have been rumours online since this morning of another far-right gathering. Darshna, what's happening there now?
All day, rumours have been circulating that far-right groups will be coming here next to this community. In the distance, you might be able to hear police cars going by. There are groups of young men. Some say they are on the way to a roundabout nearby, where around 200 or so have gathered. They said to me that they are from this community. Some of them are from the local mosques. They say that they are ready to defend their community, and when I asked them what this would mean, they said they don't want any trouble, but they will meet force with force. Those are the words that some young men use. Tensions are very high here. We've spoken to immigration advice centres, to solicitors' offices, whose addresses have been circulated on some right-wing groups. They are very concerned about what could happen next. And this is why people are fearful. They have heard the Prime Minister's words, but they wonder, is he really going to be able to stop whatever happens next? And today, another reminder of the real-life consequences. The Royal College of GPs have said that some of their members, healthcare workers, have been abused, particularly those from minority ethnic backgrounds. And they say this is the real-life consequences of the disorder and the atmosphere that has been created on our streets.
Darshna Soni there, thank you. And apologies if you heard any bad language there. As we can see, it is live. And as we've been hearing in South Yorkshire, not far from here, police have condemned what they've called a disgusting display of thuggery following the disorder at that Rotherham hotel housing asylum seekers last night. At least 12 police officers were injured by a group estimated to number more than 700 people. Local MP and Defence Secretary John Healey said there will be a reckoning for those involved. Amelia Jen was there last night in Rotherham.
This quiet suburb 10 miles away from Rotherham last night became the scene of a pitched battle after a crowd who'd surrounded a hotel housing asylum seekers set it alight. The police have managed to move a crowd of around 100 to 200 down this end of the road, but they're still throwing glass bottles, they're still throwing logs, and actually 2 boys have just started a fire over there. By the time police had dispersed the riot, it was 5 a.m. and 12 South Yorkshire police officers had been injured with rocks, fences and other missiles.
It began yesterday around 11:30 a.m. when a group of 250 arrived in the Manvers area of Wath-upon-Dearne. A further group of around 500 people arrived shortly after, who we believe held far-right and anti-immigration views. It was ultimately a disgusting display of thuggery, continuing well into the evening.
The hotel's windows were smashed and a wheelie bin set alight before being pushed into a doorway. Police describing a concerted effort not just to damage the hotel, but to inflict serious harm on those inside.
I've come down from Leeds this morning. This is where I'm from, but I live in Leeds now. But I was just crying my eyes out yesterday watching it. It's awful. Just thinking about the people inside, like, that is not a way to treat a human.
It turned from peaceful into possibly some of the most sickening parts of society that exists now in the UK. Where's the tolerance gone? Where's the understanding? Where's the acceptance that actually where's the acceptance that some of this is a historic failure of government to actually process cases as well, so they're not sitting in hotels for all this time?
I spoke to one man here last year, and he'd already been rehomed in another part of the country. I won't name the place. And he'd been so badly beaten up there, it had left him with a permanent disability. So he'd been moved here, and he was still waiting for his claim to be processed.
Liz's friend works inside the hotel, and she's done voluntary work here too.
They'd had some contact by WhatsApp and told me that they'd been moved into the stairwells, which had been locked for safety. And one of the lads had texted later in the evening and said, "Oh, don't worry, we've got apples and water."
This morning, Defence Secretary and local MP John Healey visited the site, having spent all night with the police. He was stopped this morning by someone who lives nearby, who repeated unsubstantiated claims about inequality in policing that have been circulating online.
I'm also hearing from a good source that the police have been told not to arrest any immigrants or do anything, nothing at all.
His is a government battling not just sticks and stones, but online agitation and misinformation that will have felt all too real for the men evacuated from the hotel at dawn.
All right-minded people have got to condemn what we saw yesterday in Rotherham and what we've seen in other towns and cities, which is thuggery, violence, disorder, vandalism, unleashed under the banner of protest. It's unjustifiable, and there will be arrests, there will be convictions.
Today, South Yorkshire Police said the responsibility lay not just with those bent on destruction, but those spreading misinformation and hate online. Anyone simply standing and watching too, they described as absolutely complicit. this, a vicious cycle of online and offline hate that last night landed here in a quiet village in South Yorkshire. Well, as you can see, the hotel is now boarded up. There's still a police presence here, and South Yorkshire Police say they have arrested 6 men in connection with the violence here, but they expect that number to rise significantly. Detectives are currently sifting through hundreds of hours of footage, and as you heard there, we were here this morning speaking to volunteers. Alongside them was the Metro Mayor of South Yorkshire, Oliver Coppard, and this afternoon he released a statement about what had happened here last night, and he said the far right have always asked those with little to blame those with even less. He said that this had nothing to do with the 3 little girls from Southport, and he said that racism was not patriotism. He said violence is not grief.
Thanks, Amelia. Well, with me here in Birmingham now, Suresh Grover, who is director of the anti-racist charity The Monitoring Group, which was set up in the wake of deadly racist violence in the 1970s. Paulette Hamilton is the Labour MP for Birmingham Erdington, and Gulwali Pasale came to the UK having fled Afghanistan and now campaigns for refugees' rights. I mean, Suresh, you're a veteran of all of these race attacks, racist riots in the 1970s and 80s. How does this compare?
This is unprecedented. We seem to have leapfrogged from Europe, France, and globally a new kind of fascism, a new era of fascism, which is bent on the murderous intent to kill people, target refugees and Muslim communities in a systemic way. And what we had was individuals taking law into their own hands and beating us up and creating murder and mayhem, with political forces supporting that.
Really, it's bad. It's not good to kill human because of her race, because of her religion. Me being a Muslim, it's not a crime. Me being a Catholic is not a crime. Me being a Protestant is not a crime. Me being a born again is not a crime. Me being a black is not a crime. Being a white is not a crime. Being an Indian is not a crime. So why all this? I think the misinformation is not the root cause. I told you in the beginning that somebody misinformed that the killer was a Muslim and an illegal immigrant. That's why you see whatever you're seeing. Because people started attacking mosques because the killer was a Muslim, and they started attacking all immigrants because the killer was an illegal immigrant. And there are those fighting for immigrants and for Muslim community. We shall not see you killing us because we are Muslims, destroying our mosques. We fight back. We shall not see you fighting and killing immigrants because they have no problem, because they have no case, because they are human beings like you. There is a reason why they are here. So why are you fighting and why are you killing immigrants? Why are you fighting and why are you killing Muslims? So there are 2 groups. Those fighting illegal immigrants and Muslims, and those fighting to defend illegal immigrants or to defend immigrants and Muslims. That we are all brothers. Moreover, we are 2 of us. Me and you, we must live on this earth amicably. You don't know what led me to come from my country to England. Where I come from, it is really hot. The situation there is no good for me to live in, or to succeed, or to chase my dreams. That's why I came here. So we need to find the root cause of all this. Why are we moving from our countries to other countries? Why people are immigrating to England? That's the root cause.
It's unprecedented because you have the EDL, led by Tommy Robinson, street fighters, supported implicitly or explicitly by Reform UK in Parliament. They are 2 sides of the same coin.
I mean, we should say that they say they condemn the violence.
They say they condemn the violence, but look at the messaging. If you look at the messaging, they have been saying that every occurrence that takes place where some South Asian person is held responsible or named responsible for some kind of attack, it's as if this is done by people who are criminals.
Now,
and they...
the thing, you know, that does have echoes again of what happened in the 20th century is tonight we saw with Darshna Soni, there are young men from these targeted communities who are coming out to defend their homes and families. And there is a danger here, isn't there, of two people, you know, two groups clashing, of actual race riots.
There are two different groups. One is actually committing the violence against the community. The others are defending themselves. And we have to accept the right to self-defense. That's the key lesson of 1970s. It's not enough to send symbolic messages or national messages about the police must do this, they must use the force of the law. What you have to do at the same time is to make sure those communities who are directly attacked, asylum seekers, Muslim communities, black and minority ethnic communities, their representatives, their communities are also spoken to by the government and reassured that those attacks will be stopped.
Paulette, I mean, we've seen Keir Starmer, Yvette Cooper trying to give that reassurance.
Absolutely.
It's clear that...
Yes, there is a valid point here. There is a contradicting information. That's why they call misinformation. That the government, some people in the government are supporting those who are committing violence against the Muslim community, against the immigrants. Why are you not talking to leaders of immigrants and leaders of the Muslim community to see how to end this? Because we are protecting, or we are defending ourselves against the killers. We are protecting ourselves against those who are attacking us, and we have to protect our children. You see, and the government maybe is listening to one side and not listening to another side. Yet there are two sides: those who are defending themselves, who are fighting to defend others, and those who are attacking. So what should we do? Really, the government, leaders, please, this is your job. See, everyone is safe. Because we are all human beings. No matter what, we are all human beings.
You know, people do not feel safe tonight, so that reassurance hasn't quite landed.
But there's lots of work going on locally, like with MPs like myself, going out to the local mosques, going to the local community, making sure that the messages are actually given on the to local people.
Do you think there's enough police on the streets?
The Prime Minister has made it absolutely clear that the police will be there, they are there for when they're needed. And the police have done a phenomenal job and under absolutely difficult circumstances. And they are there, they will be there, and they've been giving reassurances to both myself as an MP and to the local communities.
But it's that visual presence, isn't it? You know, in the 2011 riots, we remember there was a massive ramping up of police on the streets to make people feel safe. And we haven't quite got to that yet, have we? I mean, you know, here, there are businesses closed, cafes have all shut up early, saying they're afraid. There aren't any police out here.
At this moment in time, the police are there. They will be deployed if needed. Let's get this right. This is violence and thuggery. This is not a legitimate campaign or demonstration, and we have to clamp down on it, and the police and the government are working hard to make sure that every single person that's involved with it, they will face the full force of the law.
Abid Gurwali, as a refugee who works with other refugees, do you feel reassured tonight?
To be honest, I've never been this afraid. I've lived in the UK for the last 17 years. I've been a citizen for the last 5 or so, and as a refugee, as an asylum seeker, I saw the dehumanizing language, the scapegoating, but now, like, I'm afraid for my kids. I told my wife, don't go to the park. You know, I had to travel from Bolton yesterday to Kettering to take my girls to nursery because I was afraid for my wife to walk on the road. It's scary, and I think there is no legitimate concerns when this thugs comes out, the racist against Muslim refugees, and sadly the media have been portraying it as though they were misinformed or there's misinformation. Although if this guy who did this criminal act of killing these innocent children, which our sympathy should go to the family, even if he was a Muslim, even if he was a refugee, does not mean you have to go after the whole group and the whole ethnicity and the whole religion. We need to, criminal needs to be treated as criminal and brought to justice. So I feel like the media and some politician has actually made it worse, and I think they need to take some responsibility for their wording. I remember speaking to you before the election, asking about compassion, and and sadly things has turned out to be quite bad now. I think this was preventable and predictable, because the way the media and politician has been speaking about people like me and dehumanizing me and thinking I am somehow the problem for the crimes and the social housing and so on and so forth.
Go information blow. Thanks blow. Got information blow. Thanks so much. You hear that? It was a misinformation that caused all this. But even if it was a misinformation that the killer of 3 children was a Muslim and an asylum seeker, that does not guarantee that you go and kill all the Muslims. That does not guarantee that you go and kill all the asylum seekers, because someone did that as an individual. So deal with that individual. Let the law work to that one who did the crime, but not me, because I'm also an asylum seeker, or because I'm a refugee, because I'm a Muslim. So because the killer was a Muslim, so you attack every Muslim in England. That's not good. Please, let's be human here. We all born to live. We all need freedom. We all need opportunities. We came here for opportunities, to chase our dreams, and here it's working. So if somebody kills and you blame that the whole community or the whole religion, that all Muslims are killers, because somebody claiming to be a Muslim killed, that all asylum seekers, all immigrants are killers because the so-called immigrant killed. No, please, let not politicize this issue. Why politicians are fueling this? Why? If it is so, that's bad.
Well, do you think this is as spontaneous as it appears to some, as if it's just come out of nowhere?
It's very organised. It was done through social media, and absolutely what I've seen on social media can be a force for good. But what this has done, it's created a whole level of threats and violence and intimidation that I have never seen before. I was involved in the 2011 riots when it was in the city centre, and I have never seen anything as bad as it is at the moment, and it's organised.
Suresh, when you see those images of the police being attacked, taking a beating to protect minority communities, times have changed, haven't they? And
times have changed.
But do you see this also as an intelligence failure?
Yes, I see that, because I think Rotherham attack could have been prevented. I rang Rotherham Holiday Inn a couple of days ago with friends of mine, warning them what would happen. And I think it should have been created, a sterile area should be created around it, so no protest should have taken place. It's lucky that we did not see any killing or fatality or injury at Rotherham yesterday or day before yesterday. I think the other thing is, it's no good Labour saying and condemning the worst excesses when they happen. They have a duty to explain and not use the language that refugees are talking about. Muslims have been demonized, refugees have been demonized, immigration is seen as a hard rock that needs to be dealt with. That dehumanization. Let me give you an example. I'm not just briefly.
Yes, it's no good to demonize everybody, that all refugees are killers, that all Muslims are killers. Please, let's not demonize everybody. Let's just get that one guy who did the crime and face the law, but not including everybody. People come here for a reason. Please. In Africa there, In our countries where we come, things are not easy. Our leaders are not so good. We need freedom. We need to enjoy life. We need to live life. And when we come here, because one of us did a crime, and you tag that crime to all of us, please, that's bad. That's bad.
Yeah. I'll give you one review. I mean, we saw in Parliament only 5 days ago a member of Parliament for Tamworth actually naming Holiday Inn 5 days ago, and that institution,
the Prime Minister
hotel was
has
attacked.
absolutely made clear, Sir Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper, that this will not be tolerated. This language, this treatment of minority communities will not be tolerated, and they will clamp down really hard, and we have to allow the government to do their job.
And do you think they're calling it what it is? Is it enough to call it thuggery? Or should they be calling it...
Well, I'm calling it...
Islamophobic and racist.
It's Islamophobic and racist. And I'm absolutely sure that is what it is.
Just last word.
But you remember the first video I gave you, the rioters or the demonstrators were saying, for them, they are not against Islam. They are not against any immigrant. But the illegal ones, they are against them. They want those people to be checked where they come from. Are they good people? Then they allow them in the community. But it's not like that. For them, they just bring anybody and drop in the community. And they are saying we are protecting our children from being killed by immigrants. And the government said, the Prime Minister Cooper says, no, we shall not tolerate this. We are all human beings. Please don't vandalize and kill your friends and kill your human being fellows because you think somebody did wrong. And we must all say, this one is becoming racism and Islamophobic. Fighting Islam and fighting other colors. But we are all one. We have the same blood. It's red. I'm black. You are white. You are pink. You are yellow. You are green. No matter what. We are all people. We are all individuals. We all have one red blood. And we will all die. So let's utilize the resources at our hand and live harmoniously. That's the issue. That's the issue.
What do you want? I came to the UK for safety and protection, and this is not okay. This is not on. And these young people, we need to help these young people. I see the inequality, the injustice in the UK. But I'm all for peaceful protest. Come out and raise your concern. But breaking down and burning things and targeting mosques, targeting businesses. This is not the way to go.
Protest.
Indeed.
This is thuggery. This is violence of the worst kind. This is picking on a community that people think are defenceless, and people that have come from abroad that help us, that they think are defenceless, and they are absolutely demonising them, and it's not right.
You have to be consistent, not just talk. Labour has a duty to call out Islamophobia, call out racism, call out fascism. It doesn't do that.
We must leave it there. Thank you all very much indeed for joining us for now. Well, Sir Keir Starmer has warned that anyone whipping up violence online will face the full force of the law. His comments came in the wake of increasing scrutiny of social media platforms and the role they have played in the organising and incitement of the violence over the past week. Downing Street also condemned the billionaire tech boss Elon Musk, who claimed on social media that civil war is inevitable. But exactly how can mass misinformation be confronted? Our senior political correspondent, Paul McNamara, reports.
The video shared on Saturday night by the far-right activist Stephen Yaxley Lennon, more commonly known as Tommy Robinson. The video retweeted by an account with 3 million followers asking what's going on in the UK. Retweeted again with their answer, the effects of mass migration and open borders is what's going on, and a reply from billionaire and owner of X, Elon Musk, civil war is inevitable. It was a post for which the Prime Minister was forced to respond to today. His spokesperson saying, quote, "There's no justification for comments like that." The message from government: social media has a responsibility here. Not just those that use them, but those that own them too.
They need to take some responsibility for the things that are taking place on their platforms that they frankly are making huge amounts of money from. They need to be doing far more to engage to remove criminal posts that are still up, to tackle misinformation and to take some responsibility for what is happening.
Firms will face the full force of the law, say government, and that law is changing thanks to the Online Safety Act. But not all of it has been implemented yet.
What does the full force of the law actually look like at the moment?
We don't have the full range of enforcement options at this moment in time that we would hope for, but something we will have is, in the future, the ability to fine companies a percentage of their global revenue when they are not holding up their end of the bargain under the Online Safety Act. And this includes enforcing their own policies around misinformation, the glorification of violence and hate speech.
Okay, so at the moment, the social media firms don't need to be that worried.
There are other mechanisms in terms of public shaming, but when you're looking at actual impacts under law, then yes, unfortunately, there are not the same consequences now as there would be in 2025 and 26 as the OSA is enforced.
It's not just policing online which has come under criticism, actions of the police and government in the real world too. Accusations that those on the left and right wing are being policed differently. This morning, writing on social media, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage called for Parliament to be recalled. He condemned this weekend's violence but warned, ever since the soft policing of the Black Lives Matter protests, the impression of two-tier policing has become widespread.
There's a clear difference between effectively blocking streets or roads being closed to burning down libraries, hotels, food banks and attacking places of worship. What we have seen is thuggery, violence, racism.
So there's not two-tier policing?
We cannot say those kinds of comments are simply not relevant right now. That is not correct. It is not correct.
It's a question the Metropolitan Police Chief, Sir Mark Rowley, wouldn't even engage with today.
Are we going to end two-tier policing, sir?
But as long as riots on Britain's streets continue, so too will questions about how we're policed and governed on and offline.
We actually received a statement from Sir Mark Rowley about that incident just as we came to air. Essentially, he said he was leaving a meeting with the Prime Minister. It was the Prime Minister's moment to talk. He said, quote, "In an effort to move the microphone out of my path, I'm sorry I knocked it to the floor. That was never my intention." In another unique twist there, in the last hour, we've seen Elon Musk tweeting directly to Sir Keir Starmer. Sir Keir Starmer issued a statement to X saying that what we've seen today is not a protest, it's pure violence. He ended it with, "We will not tolerate attacks on mosques or on Muslim communities." To which Elon Musk replied, quote, "Shouldn't you be concerned about attacks on all communities?" Well, given how seriously we've seen the government talk about social media responsibilities this week, today, it's a pretty extraordinary response from Elon Musk there, and a glimpse into the mindset of at least one social media boss.
Paul McNamara. Well, earlier I spoke to the former prison governor, Ian Atchison. He's now senior advisor to the Counter-Extremism Project. And I asked him if the police and security services should have seen these riots coming.
I know there's been some criticism of a lack of preparation. It seems to be in relation to Rotherham in particular, and the hotel there that was besieged by people that were intent on, if they could, I think, killing the occupants, that there was intelligence that did exist that should have meant that the police response, the defensive response around that hotel was much greater. I think what you saw were police that were almost overwhelmed, and we could have had an absolute tragedy that would have ignited this civil disorder into something much worse had that occurred. There needs to be a re-examination of police tactics. We simply don't have enough cops around in the country to be able to sustain the rates of injury and assault.
I mean, one of the lessons of 2011, I remember, was that the police were out on the streets relatively quickly. You know, quite fast we saw a lot of officers out trying to give reassurance. Do you think that's happened yet? I mean, I'm in Birmingham where there have been warnings of gatherings today, and I haven't seen any police on the streets.
Well, I think I do have some sympathy here for the policing posture. It's extraordinarily complex sometimes, and I think there's some research that followed 2011. Putting more police officers on the ground can actually aggravate a situation and draw more people in than would otherwise be the case. So there's a very fine balance that has to be met. And, if, as Sir Keir Starmer has said, there's a determination to put these people behind bars, I simply have no idea where they're going to go, because we do not have the capacity at the minute in the prison service to deal with the population that exists, let alone a surge of angry and alienated young people. The state must now dispense with, any navel gazing and deal with the problem of total incivility and impunity that is allowing these awful acts of destruction to happen.
What about the extremism itself? What do we now need to do about that?
Well, I mean, I've argued to government over a number of years that our counter-terrorism policy, our national policy contest, which, as you know, contains all those Ps, prevent, pursue, prepare and protect, needs an additional arm to it called promote. And that is about figuring out how we deal with extremism in pockets of the country, often pockets that have other multiple problems like social inequality and deprivation and so on, and how we stop those communities, and a lot of them are in the former mill towns across the north of England and along the eastern seaboard of the country, how we analyse the problem here where social integration seems to have failed. And we need to do something to stop that inevitability of these people being radicalised or mobilised in some way, or believing, they've got the impunity to act in the way that they did on our streets. And that requires a complex and probably uncomfortable conversation about why those people, I'm talking about young people, are behaving in the way that they have.
We have this, confluence of media, and by which I mean, television, new television channels and social media, and politicians and newly elected politicians who are feeding into this rhetoric. And that's a new thing for us, isn't it?
Yes, and I think, there is a responsibility on all of us who talk about these awful events to, speak in measured tones and, be united in saying that there is no excuse for this behaviour at all. There is no contextualisation about assaulting police officers, about trying to burn down hotels, about destroying your own neighbourhood, about looting and damage and destruction. That has to be straightforwardly condemned, and it must be.
Ian Ashton, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a well-established pattern. First there's the riot, then the clean-up. Today from dawn, hundreds of people were on the streets of central Middlesbrough cleaning up after scores of houses and vehicles were damaged in yesterday's serious violent disorder, which spanned many hours. Well, our chief correspondent, Alex Thompson, is there now. Alex.
Yes, given the violence that unfolded here yesterday, naturally it's taken people through the night really to assess the extent of that. We're standing now in front of the law courts. You could probably see windows boarded up after they were smashed by rioters. Just along the way, you have Teesside University. Same thing happened there. Windows smashed by rioters during late afternoon yesterday. This afternoon, the university issued us a statement saying that they paid tribute to the people who came along quite unasked to help clear up the mess. And they said that that represented the true spirit of Teesside and Middlesbrough. Well, we saw a good deal of that spirit on the streets from the early hours of this morning, but also, of course, that took place after several hours of concerted violence, albeit in specific areas, but intense violence over several hours.
You're never going to win hate by hating. You've got to fight it with love.
I've been here 25 years and I've never seen anything.
Now here, violence when people are demonstrating or rioting. They are saying now this is not a riot, this is not demonstration. The people are not demonstrating, but these are thieves, these are killers. They are just killing people. They are just They are just destroying everything. That if they were about the someone who killed, now why attacking the universities? Why attacking each and everything? Now, meaning these Kakun, they are those people who have been boiling every day, and they are not happy about what is taking place in England, and now they are using this chance to express themselves. But what could be done? That is the question.
That was to find my life ever. Excuse to spread racism and violence.
Police drafted into Middlesbrough yesterday from across the northeastern Cumbria. Well over 50 arrests by this morning. Police warning rioters there will be more. Mounted units, dog teams. But what happened in the...
But have you seen that? Pants are down. Being arrested and pants are down. Pants are down. Look here. Look there. The guy being arrested, pants are down. Pants are down. Oh gosh.
There will be more. Mounted units, dog teams. But what happened in the side streets where police couldn't always be, and the rioters knew it?
Oh, this is crazy.
That car burned out near Garnett Street in the town centre. They smashed in the windows on this new build estate. Then they crossed over and they went one end to the other of Garnett Street, smashing up every single car on the street and quite a few front windows as families were carrying inside with children. No police, no hurry, strolling along Garnett Street. Attacking the vehicles, breaking people's front windows wherever, whenever they feel like it. Many of them teenagers, some appeared much younger than that. Student and care worker from Ghana, Edward Bonio, discovers what they've done to his car.
I mean, we are very devastated. Don't know what to do.
Nigel Parry, a care home manager, Edward's next door neighbour.
I guess the guys was all about it being a kind of a political rally, I think, but what it was just an excuse for a gang of thugs to run around smashing cars up.
How will I say? Very painful.
Yeah.
You know, some of my children were even traumatized. You know, they fear about what is happening. You know, we have to calm them and talk to them.
A few doors along, this man's 3 children were on the sofa when the front window came in.
I had this smash on the car.
A rioter cut himself so badly on the glass, he ripped down the curtains for a bandage. He's kept the blood-stained glass to help police investigate.
So he left it, and if you can see, that's a sample of his blood, so I had to pick it to keep. Maybe if the police, because I bring in the police in case they come and they need to see something about it. And if you watch, you could still see spots of blood.
This morning, a new day on so many levels. Hundreds out early, and of course they came.
I told you, things are coming tough and tough every day. England is changing. But it's not England alone. Even US, things are worse. And everybody's blaming immigrants. But it's all about the immigrants. Or there is another issue behind all this. Let's first finish the video.
On to Garnett Street in force.
Everyone who come out to that march yesterday, it was about colour and it was about anyone Muslim basically. That we feel that we are being targeted for our religion. Yeah, no doubt about it.
I didn't think we were like that here. I didn't think there was people here like that, and like when it happens on your own front door, it comes home to you then as well. So
we can't rebuild that, but we just want to still rebuild our community with everybody else and change people's mindsets, that we're all here together.
Peter and Gloria too live in Garnett Street. The family, once more, in the front room when the rioters arrived.
Everybody was here sitting. All my kids were sleeping here before the thing happened here. My first daughter, all the body was blood yesterday because the glass.
Because they broke the window from outside, the splash of the glass injured her on the hand. She's very scared.
One of their daughters cut by flying glass. And when they feel able, they'll find at least the worst of the mess cleared up by Middlesbrough's best.
Alex Thompson reporting there. Some of the first people to be charged in relation to the riot started to appear in court earlier today. They are being prosecuted after violence erupted in places including Sheffield, Sunderland, Hartlepool and Belfast. Our reporter Andrew Misra is at Liverpool Magistrates Court. Andrew.
Aisha, we started to get a sense of the scale of the task in bringing those involved in these riots to justice. 11 people appeared before magistrates in Merseyside to face charges relating to the riots in Liverpool over the weekend and in Southport last week. 9 of them faced a charge of violent disorder and 6 of them pleaded guilty to that charge. The youngest of them, 14 years old, who we can't identify for legal reasons. The oldest, 69-year-old William Nelson Morgan, who brought a wooden bat to riots in Liverpool on Saturday night. Derek Drummond, who's 58, also pleaded guilty to assaulting an emergency worker in Southport last week. And the court was shown body-worn footage of an officer being punched in the face by Drummond as he was trying to protect his colleagues who were putting riot gear on. 2 brothers, Adam and Ellis Wharton, weren't charged with violent disorder, but did plead guilty to burgling a library that was set alight on Saturday night. And as Adam Wharton, who's 28, was led back down to the cells, he said, "Nice one, lad," before swearing at the district judge. The judge remanded all of the adult defendants into custody and they will appear before Crown Court later this month. And while people are being brought to court quickly here, that hasn't been the case everywhere. Take Bristol, for example, where some people accused in relation to unrest there won't appear in court until September. But back in Merseyside, in Southport tonight, the focus is not on the riots that followed the stabbing a week ago today, but on the 3 girls who were killed, Alice, Bibi and Elsie. And in the last hour, people have been gathering in the town centre and blowing bubbles in their memory. Organisers say that symbolises sending kisses to them in heaven.
Andrew Misra, thank you very much in Liverpool Magistrates Court there.
Well, tonight, rival groups are engaged in a tense standoff in Plymouth, with police warning people to stay away from the city centre. Social media footage showed a large number of far-right activists hurling abuse at anti-racist demonstrators, and the nearby library was closed early as a precaution. Well, joining me now is the Labour MP for Coventry South, Zara Sultana. And this is not far from where you live. How are you feeling tonight about how safe this country is?
Incredibly scared. While I represent Coventry South, I was born and raised in Birmingham, so seeing the images that are coming out of this city and the family WhatsApp groups telling each other to stay in, my sisters wondering if they should go into work, my friends saying that actually they're going to work from home. This isn't, a way to be living where you're fearful of walking outside in your community and perhaps not going into work because you're fearful for your life.
But we have to talk about where this comes from, don't we? I mean, this is not spontaneous, hasn't just erupted out of nowhere.
No, this is the culmination of decades of front pages that have demonised and scapegoated Muslims, refugees and migrants. This is the product of rhetoric that we see coming from the highest offices in the country. Our former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, said that we had an invasion of migrants. She also recently said that the Islamists and extremists and anti-Semites were in charge. We've got politicians, the former MP in Leicester, John Ashworth, who said migrants are able to stay in hotels and stay in them for life. We've had Lee Anderson, who said the animals, referring to the people in Hare Hills in Leeds, and that language, that dehumanisation has been happening for decades. In particular, you've got Nigel Farage, who was recently elected. The language that he's been using about Muslims, saying that they don't share the values of British people. This is where it leads to.
And for you, Labour isn't going far enough either.
I think the Labour Party needs to be stronger in what it is calling for. I'm glad that there's been progress in calling it Islamophobic. It took us a long time to get to that point, when Muslim communities are the communities that are being targeted, as well as black and brown people, asylum seekers who are, where arsonists are trying to burn them alive in their hotels. We have to see how the debate around immigration, which has dehumanized people, has led us to this point where people are being, hotels are being burned.
But the issue right now is law and order. And that is what Labour is trying to deliver. I mean, and Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper have been very, very clear on that. I mean, is now the time to be sort of stirring up internal debate when actually
this is not an internal debate. This is not an internal debate. I have always highlighted Islamophobia, and the Conservative Party have highlighted it in my own party, highlighting the Ford report, which has said that there is a hierarchy of racism at play when it comes to Islamophobia and anti-black racism. In terms of what we need to do now, law and order is an important part of the answer, but it is not the silver bullet. Unless we address the fact that we have a deeply unequal country where living standards have fallen, the lowest since records began, that people are dependent on food banks, that wages have been flatlining.
Well, so you need to offer different answers to these people who are taken to the streets.
An economic solution where our communities feel invested.
You hear that? Thanks, bro. Now, there is a point here. We need an economic solution. Economically, Britain, England, people are not feeling empowered. They feel they are economically not empowered. They don't have that economic freedom. You see, they feel they can't pay bills. They can't enjoy freely. They can't chase their dreams. Also, in England, they feel leaders are misleading them. They are not working to improve their economy or to improve their way of living. And now they think that maybe these immigrants are taking away our money, and we must fight this. The economic issue must be addressed. Not only in England, even Africa, even United States of America, even South America, everywhere economic issue must be addressed. And not only economic issue, and even the political issue must be addressed. Dictators, bad leaders must be called to order. And there, the world will be a better place for everybody.
That they feel supported, that they don't feel left behind. We have an NHS on its knees. We have our public services crumbling. And what has happened is politicians, rather than address their own failings at this, have pointed to migrants, who have pointed to Muslims. And this is what we're seeing. So we need to address the structural economic issues.
Yes. Let's not blame immigrants. Let's not blame Muslims. Let's act on economic issue. Politicians have refused to look in their eyes and say, but economically, are we doing well? That's why people are rising up. They are rising up. They are rioting. I show you the first video we did here, and that video, people are saying, please, we are born here, but we are homeless. We don't have where to live. We don't have houses to sleep in because they are so expensive. For those rich men who built these houses, who bought these houses, they are about themselves to get money from these houses and to become more rich and richer and richer. They are charging a lot of rent from us, and it's impossible for us to pay that rent, and we end up homeless. And the immigrants are given 5-star hotels, they are staying there. Now, the people of England have a point. Why they are demonstrating, why they are rioting, why they are angry. They think immigrants, they are taking a lion's share, and for them, they are not being cared for. Economic problem must be addressed,
which politicians just don't want to do, and instead distract, blame, scapegoat others to get people's attention elsewhere, and it's unacceptable, and this is a product of that.
But the context is different now because people are also in Parliament with very controversial views you don't like.
I mean, Parliament is a democratic institution, and we've all been elected, and we all have the same rights and responsibilities. What I struggle with is how people do not take those responsibilities seriously, where they use the platform of Parliament and those green benches to perpetuate hate, to perpetuate division, and that needs to be condemned by everyone.
Okay, Zara Sultana, thank you very much indeed for joining us. I suppose I wrongly called you a Labour MP. I mean, you were elected as a Labour MP, but you're not a Labour MP right now because the whip was withdrawn.
I believe kids shouldn't be in poverty, in avoidable poverty, and that's why the whip was withdrawn.
Because you voted for the SNP amendment. So,
to scrap the two-child benefit cap.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, I suppose I should also just make clear that we've been calling this rioting across the UK. So far, there hasn't been rioting in Scotland. There has been trouble in the other nations of the UK, but not yet in Scotland. And I know a lot of our Scottish viewers want us to make that clear, which I'm happy to. Aisha.
Thanks, Christian. A number of graves in the Muslim section of a cemetery in Burnley have been daubed with white paint. It's thought that the vandalism is related to the far-right violence, and it's been condemned by Burnley Council, and Lancashire Police are investigating.
Oh, things are not good, things are not okay in the England, King's land. Things are not okay. But all the issue here, I have picked from this last speakers that politicians are fueling up this for their self-benefits. Some want to pick attention worldwide from the people, blaming immigrants and blaming Muslims, but for them, they know the real reason, and they're not addressing that. They're just playing around on people's minds for them to benefit and people to be killed and people to lose. Please, please, we are all human beings. We deserve equal opportunities. We deserve freedom. All of us, we have our dreams we're chasing, and we must catch those dreams, no matter where we are. Why could you kill somebody because he's a Muslim? Why could you kill somebody because he's a black? Is there any sense in it? Nothing. So we should all promote love. We should love each and everybody. And the main question I'm always leaving to is why, if you think immigrants are a problem, immigrants should be sent back to their countries, but why are people moving from Africa? Why people are moving from their countries to England, to elsewhere, to get freedom, to get opportunities, to chase their dreams? Those three issues is the reason why people are moving. And the fourth one is bad leadership in their countries. Many countries in Africa, there is bad leadership. Leaders are not caring about their citizens. And these leaders are supported by governments in England, governments in the United States, governments in Germany, governments in France. Yet they see these leaders mistreating their people, abducting, killing, arresting, torturing. So, if you keep on watching these African or any other country bad leaders, when they are mistreating their people, people will always decide for what to do. Maybe when I go to England, things will change. Maybe when I go to Canada, USA, Germany, France, Brazil, anyway, things will change. And that's why you see increasing number of immigrants coming to your countries. And that's not a shame, and that's not a problem, and that's not an issue. But why are we coming? There is a problem that must be addressed. That problem, find it and address it. But let's love one another. We must love one another. We're all people. We're all human beings. Don't kill a Muslim because somebody called a Muslim killed somebody. Don't attack a mosque because somebody called a Muslim killed somebody. Please. Don't kill a black man. Don't kill a black woman. Don't attack a black man. Don't attack a black woman. Don't attack somebody, a white man, a white woman, because a black killed a white, because a white killed a black. So you attack and condemning the whole community, the whole race that they did that. No. Let's get those individuals and face the law. Other people are innocent. Let's love one another. The world will be a better place for all of us.